we're about 11 hours away from 2025. But my bigger question is this. Was 2024 good for you? Or better yet, was 2024 a good year for America? I have some answers for you. I'm David Thompson. Now, as we head into 2025, I always believe everybody wants to do a year in review, okay? So what were some of the good and bad things of 2024? Well, as a commentator and as a podcaster here, I'm going to start out with the good things because I think people may think of something that they believe was good for them. For many, it was good that Donald Trump won the election in November. For others, not so much. Here's what I look at and my take on it. In the big scheme of things, the big picture, by the grace of God, we did not collapse like many people believed. And a lot of this was election related, okay? Donald Trump had great hopes and was going to make America great again, and Joe Biden's economy was on the edge and ready to collapse. I talked a lot about this during my year, and though there were many imperfect things in the economy during his administration, there were many good things. And no, we did not collapse. Many economists, it's going to be the end of the world. It's collapse is coming. And people are on YouTube channels right now. Big headlines, fantastic thumbnails. And it's the end of the world. Collapse is coming. But they predicted the same thing in 2024, and it didn't happen. I had a few videos talking about that, but I digress. Number two, in the Conspiracy Theorists 101 school category, there was no roundup of Christians. There was no roundup of people. There wasn't any invasion. There wasn't any riots and terrorist attacks within our country that everybody, especially right-wing people, predicted. Again, there are people right now on YouTube. You may watch some of them. Maybe it's time not to, proclaiming this. Now, I'm going to let you know, I'm not going to give you my predictions. I will probably have a video, maybe coming up, giving you some insight that I feel you may need to look at 2025, but predictions are never really a good thing and very seldom ever work out. Now, the other thing I want to mention, linked to this gloom and doom economy that people have created, because, so many restaurants did close, stores are closing everywhere. And this is a bigger picture than a president, okay? Though these things are happening, we still have places to go eat. We still have places to go buy stuff. Again, we should be thankful to God that, we still have a working society. Now, we're going to get into the bad and the ugly. And I will say this, that many people are looking for a political solution to a spiritual problem. I've talked about this many times. And Christians who will quote that phrase don't follow it. They're looking for a political solution to a spiritual problem in America and maybe globally. Okay, so I'm going to go on record as saying once again that's not going to happen. There isn't. And all the hype and all the problems and complaints people had about Joe Biden, you're going to wish he's coming back after what I believe might be happening in 2025, but I'm ahead of myself there. Okay, so here's where I'm saying with the bad. Donald Trump was elected. For those of you that disagree and think it was a great thing for America, I give you your ability, your right to believe that. But he was elected on a platform, an unstable platform of lies, truths, half-truths, and childlike thinking, okay? That everything's easy to fix with a pen and with words, and with you walking into a room, it's fixed. That doesn't work that way. The world doesn't work that way. Now, Donald Trump has promised to solve the Ukraine war before he takes office. We kind of already know that's not going to happen. He promised that he would reduce inflation and produce prices before he walked into the door. We now know he admits that's not going to happen. There are things I'm waiting for in 2025. So the bad thing to me was that this election wasn't based on a true Republican platform of dealing with the country as a whole. It was dealing with certain groups of people, mostly billionaires, for them to make more money. That's the bad. Okay? Also in 2024, we were at war with 3 countries and still are going into 2025. That's the war in Ukraine, the war in the Middle East, and we're at war with China. Understand that although there's not bombs being shot at each other, we're not firing missiles into China, there are things happening behind the scenes. Just mentioned that the Federal Reserve was hacked, I believe today or yesterday. Now they're blaming China. How they know that, I'm not sure, but okay, I'll give them what they believe. Probably was, could have been. But remember, now we're at war with China. Trump declared it. Joe Biden did declare it well before 2024 and well before, of course, 2025. There is a war, and that war is going to heat up with tariffs, possibly. And I say tariffs because Donald Trump promised day one of his administration he will place tariffs on, just about everybody, and that he was going to start deporting immigrants. These are all what I believe things that are bad. Some people believe they're not. I believe that my believing they are bad is backed up by solid data. Yet I digress on that. Okay. Now I believe that hope is another casualty of 2024. I believe that as the election as the election went forward, as the process running up the election continued with rallies and with commercials and with rhetoric, I believe it was a scary time for many, many people, for minorities, for immigrants, for anybody that believes in freedom. These were scary times, and they should be. And this uncertainty will especially for people that are involved in immigration, especially for the average American who's going to now feel the pinch of tariffs being placed on countries we need to buy things from, and those prices go up. This is a tough time to live. It's hopelessness in its own right because there's no fix to it. Remember, there's no political solution to a spiritual problem. So the political solutions are what? War, tariffs, getting rid of immigrants in our country, cracking down, forcing people to, believe what the government wants them to believe. This is going to increase. Okay? So here's the ugly. And the ugly really does transcend years. 2024 was ugly because we were stuck in an election process that I believe was absurd. I believe that Americans, so many, really fell for the oldest trick in the book. I'm going to give you everything you want, no matter what it is. You're going to be number one. And the reality was the opposite. Okay? The reality is who's going to be number one is the usual cast of characters, the usual suspects, the billionaires. We now see quite a few of them on the forefront of our politics. Unelected officials that are going to tell you what you can do, tell you what we're going to spend to support your government. Vivek Ramaswamy, Elon Musk, they're going to say, well, we don't really need these departments anymore. We don't need the EPA because, you see, they prevent you from getting the most out of your oil companies. Yeah, okay. They're preventing us from getting swamped with poison air and poison water and poison food and poison land, okay? But that's not important. Profits are important. That's ugly. Our freedoms are eroding, and they're going to erode more under Donald Trump because he mentioned he was going to be a dictator. He mentioned that right-wing agenda is going to be key for him. And right-wing people, many of them, are at war with every minority group, every group that exists in this country, no matter how small. They're at war with them. And they're going to make sure those people are put as far away from mainstream as they can, have no voice at all. And we already know that this has happened in the past, hasn't it? Where minorities did not have a voice. The Japanese in World War II, when we put them in internment camps, did not have a voice. The Indians, Native Americans in this country, still don't have a voice. Of course, immigrants will not have a voice. We're just going to do what we want because we think it's best. Well, we already know that if you deport even 10 million immigrants, that'll be a devastating blow to our economy. That's pretty much well known, but the hatred that has grown over the years for immigrants has no bounds, and it will force people, as they battle even now over visas. If you've heard that debate between right-wing Christian nationalists and Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, they want to bring in people on visas that are foreigners to work in their companies. Of course, it was promised by Donald Trump that that would not happen. I'm not sure who's going to win that debate, but you see how we're already at war with each other, which is another ugliness to 2024, and it's going to be an ugliness carried over into 2025. Hopelessness is up, and I believe myself that as much as me as a Christian knows that there is hope in Jesus, I know that. And some people will tell me, doesn't matter, bring it on. I know what happens at the end of the book. Well, the end of the book isn't tomorrow. You still have to deal and be a part of our society today. You still have to fight for what's right today. You're here now. Those that just, I'm not worried about it because I know what's going to happen. Well, maybe you really don't. Maybe the point is, as I've mentioned in a few of my other videos, that we're here to stand up for what's right, for those that have no voice, for those who are on the fringe. And I always talk about people pulling scriptures out of the Bible to defend positions. You know, we're not supposed to give people any help because they're supposed to work for themselves. If they don't work, they don't get food. I think that was Paul, I believe, that might have said that. I believe in Thessalonians. I'm sorry if I'm off on that. But if you read it all and you look into the references, you realize he was talking to rich people, because rich people did not work for anything. They paid their servants to work and to provide them with everything they needed. And the servants were usually treated badly. Does that sound familiar? But even if you look at it that way, you look at what Jesus actually did. See, if it doesn't match up exactly with what Jesus did and said, then you misinterpreted those apostles. That's the way I look at it. Jesus told us, keep your hand out, help the poor, help the needy. You know, he told us through the Beatitudes what he wanted from us. So that erases all those other biases and all those other ideas we have to defend our belief that anybody that's not working hard like us, because we're successful, because we're worked so hard, me, I, you didn't do it. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Of course, that's part of a British saying, and I believe if you read the whole thing, the community helps that person get to that point where he can or she can pull herself or himself up by his bootstraps. Homelessness isn't going to solve itself. Donald Trump wants to put all the homeless people out of sight. You know what they say, out of sight, out of mind. Excuse me. So what I'm hoping is that people realize that because there's no political solution to a spiritual problem, they throw away that political playbook they think that they're operating with. That if somehow we get rid of everybody who doesn't agree with what we do, whether it's homosexuals or transvestites, transgender people, whatever those minorities are that everybody seems to want to hate and wants the government to turn on, realize that that's not our job. Our job's to do what Jesus Christ wanted us to go preach the gospel. Lay hands on people, pray for people, reach out to people. Hatred wasn't one of them. And you can't find any scripture except when Jesus talked about, that's right, the Pharisees and Sadducees of his time were the serpents and snakes and scorpions and the evil of that time. We've got to move away from those type of people today, those people that represent that grouping that Jesus talked about, and move towards the fact that we are to follow his instructions on how to be kind to people of anybody, of any color, of any persuasion. Your job's not to judge. Your job's not to condemn. And if you spend all your time hating and going after these things that you believe are conspiracies, all these conspiracies right-wing people have come up with. I was lured into many of them too, and I admit that in a big way. It's easy to get down the pike with believing that, any second now it's all going to come tumbling down. That doesn't mean that there aren't issues that we're going to face. And it doesn't mean that America isn't going to lose the status that I believe it's going to lose. Its status as the world's mighty hegemonic power to oversee on every continent, every other country. Our empire is fading, and that's the truth. It faded under Joe Biden. It faded under all the presidents before it, and under Donald Trump, it may fade even faster as he declares war on everybody who doesn't want to listen to what he has to say, to obey what he wants them to do, which is to bow down to America and to Donald Trump. But I digress. So what I want to end up this video is to wish you a Happy New Year. I realize that, people have hope for New Year. They always do. And I kind of gave you some downers here. 2024, and I'll admit, going into 2025, not much will change there. But I also want you to know there is hope. And Jesus is that hope. You see, once you understand the whole concept of what he came to do and what he ordered us and commanded us to do, all that other stuff should fade away. Hatred should melt away. And I've been told, well, that's not hatred. Well, when you want to throw somebody out that has children, you want to just take them somewhere else and pull them out of this country, that are hardworking people. And a lot of these people that we're targeting are just that. See, I have no reason to doubt that if someone's evil or committing crimes that we shouldn't arrest them and send them out of the country. I don't have a problem with that. But that isn't 24 million people. It's not. And I don't want my economy to collapse. I want to be able to go to the grocery store and buy fruit and vegetables grown here. You get rid of immigrants, the produce that does come from America, it's going to skyrocket. So with that little caveat now laid before you, I want to say again, a Happy New Year. Jesus is the reason for the season of Christmas. And I know he wasn't born in December. I'll add that. But he is the focus point of those that are Christians. That, he came to this earth willingly to die for us, that we might accept him and live. But he also came with some instructions. Love thy neighbor. Reach out to those people that are less fortunate. Read the Beatitudes, and you'll realize that Jesus wasn't about overturning that table that everybody talks about in the temple. He overturned that for a specific reason. The rest of humanity he came to save. I hope you understood this particular last-minute live stream. I wanted to get something out here before the new year, and I wanted to wish you all a Happy New Year, and God bless you. In the new year, we're going to be changing some things. I hope that you stay with me. Please like, subscribe, and share my video channel with others. We've had a transition from a lot of the videos that maybe tickled a lot of people's fancy to some harder core topics and some things people didn't like. So I'm in a transition for those that are leaving me and the new ones coming in. God bless both of you, those that left and those that are coming in. We're going to have I think a really good site for you in the new year. So keep an eye out for the Tom Sig analysis. Thanks, everybody. for all the support you've given me this year. God bless you. See you next time right here on the Tom Sigint Analysis.